Able to get about 32.6 billion of fake currencies in various denominations.
And is it linked to one of the suspects accused of impersonating the president and conning Noshad Merali?
Also tonight, a man famous for making a 1.6 billion shilling profit in an hour was conned of 10 million shillings in the president's name. Just who is Noshad Merali, the seer of Samia Group?
Plus,
when somebody from your community steals, is it you? Then, if somebody came from the DP's community, doesn't mean it's the DP.
The DPP fires back at critics accusing him of targeting the DP in the war on graft.
Also tonight, MPs play the game of numbers in Parliament.
It will be an exercise in futility.
And the fourth attempt to pass the gender bill flops.
NTV Tonight with Mark Masai and Olive Burrows.
Glad you could join us. David Agondo is our sign language interpreter tonight. And to our top story, the saga surrounding the 7 men charged with swindling Samia Africa chairman Noshad Merali 10 million shillings by impersonating President Uhuru Kenyatta took another twist today after police raided a house in Ruiru and recovered fake Kenyan and foreign currency in billions of shillings in a residential house reportedly linked to one of the suspects.
It is believed that the money was being used by the suspects in a con scheme where 3 people were also arrested. The 7 were, however, today released on a 100,000 shillings cash bail in the 10 million shilling fraud case where Chief Magistrate Francis Ndai indicated that they do have a case to answer, and if found guilty of conspiracy to defraud, they could face up to 3 years in prison.
It is in this residential house in Gatongora village in Ruiru, Kiambu County, where a multi-agency team involving the Special Crime Unit and Ruiru police officers nabbed a whopping 32.6 billion in fake currency. The currency in form of dollars, sterling pounds and Kenyan shillings were recovered stashed in over 15 metal boxes.
US dollars, we have 324 million. Sterling pounds, we have 1 million. Euro bonds, 840 euros, and Kenya shillings, 1 million.
2 suspects, among them a 56-year-old Kenyan Joseph Munyao, a licensed gun holder, and his alleged 41-year-old business partner Nancy Muthoni Muchori, were arrested in the over 5-hour search mission by police. According to neighbors, Munyao, reportedly a pastor in an unidentified Nairobi-based church, relocated from an estate in Runda in Nairobi barely a month ago. He and his wife are said to have bought the spacious house at 2.5 million shillings from where the fake money was stored.
These are people who have been operating the business of money laundering and pretending to be making some fake money.
Police noted that officers from the Special Crime Unit were pursuing more leads that link the incident to the suspected conman who posed as President Uhuru Kenyatta and allegedly defrauded Samia Africa Finance Director Akif Ahmed of 10 million, claiming it was facilitation fee in a land deal that never was. The 7 were released by the court on a 100,000 shilling cash bill. The house where the fake currency was found is said to be linked to one of the 7 suspects. Earlier on in Parliament.
I don't want to comment on so don't ask me stupid questions. The first thing, this member of Parliament, he was invited by the parent of the lady who was wedding. Then invited us as members of Parliament, so I don't want to hear nonsense.
A clearly irritated Babu Owino dismissed questions raised by NTV on his relationship with one of the suspects, Joseph Waswa. Babu walked out of the press briefing in Parliament, threatening to stage demonstrations outside the Nation Centre for linking him to the individual. The two have taken pictures together on what appears to be different occasions. The case involving the 7 suspects will be up for mention on the 12th of March. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
The Kenya National Union of Teachers has instructed its welfare committee to investigate how teachers lost 2 billion shillings to a bank formerly associated with billionaire businessman Naushad Merali.
Mwalimu Sacco, which is affiliated to thousands of teachers across the country, bought a 75% stake in Equatorial Commercial Bank, which is now in trouble. So just who is this man, Merali?
NTV's Silas Apollo reports on the man who has been in the news in recent weeks for all the wrong reasons and how his latest deal could hit teachers hard.
For a man who presides over arguably one of the largest business enterprises in the country, it is surprising just how little is known about Naushad Merali, chairman of the Samia Group of companies.
Many believe that apart from being a go-getting entrepreneur, Merali has had close links with those in power, from President Daniel Moi to the elites and powerful in the Jubilee administration. One of his business empires, the Equatorial Commercial Bank, is at the center of a 2 billion shilling scandal invested by teachers. The teachers are said to have been enticed into buying a 75% stake in the bank, which has since rebranded to Spire Bank, but that dream may be far from a reality. The bank has remained in losses that have whittled down its book value to 551.6 million shillings as of September last year, placing the worth of the stake of Mwalimu Sacco at a mere 413.7 million shillings. And this is not the first time that the name of the billionaire businessman is in the news. Merali is currently entangled in a 10 million shillings land deal where he is said to have been conned by people who mimicked President Uhuru Kenyatta. Merali also earned controversy after selling off his 5% stake in telecommunications company Airtel in 2014, earning him a record 738 million shillings in hours. Another of Merali's business empires, the Samia Business Park, located along Mombasa Road, has also been at the center of a land ownership dispute after the government in 2011 threatened to demolish it, saying it was built on a road reserve. The 68-year-old Merali is understood to be an astute entrepreneur, endowed with grit and a gift of identifying profitable business opportunities. Any deficiencies of his character are simply compensated for through the recruitment of professional managers for his ventures. He thrust into national limelight and prominence way back in 1985. The Kenya National Union of Teachers Secretary General Wilson Sosion now says that they have instructed the Welfare Committee to investigate the matter and table a report. Sosion told NTV that the matter is of a grave concern to the thousands of teachers who are members of the SACCO and could have serious implications. Silas Apollo, NTV.
And on the continued fight against corruption, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, has dismissed allegations that he is selective in his prosecution of those accused of graft.
Haji has also dismissed claims that the war on graft is specifically targeting Deputy President William Ruto and his allies.
He says individuals must bear the responsibility for their actions or omission. And as Kemi Jungo reports, the DPP also wants the public to refuse money from those accused of corruption.
Carry your own cross and stop playing the victim. The message from the Director of Public Prosecution, iked by claims that the war on graft is engineered. This was specifically directed at those claiming that the Deputy President is the man in the DPP's crosshairs.
When somebody from your community steals, is it you? Then, if somebody came from the DP's community, doesn't mean it's the DP. Individuals must carry their cross, and it's unfair to do that, and we have to stop that. One, to ethnicize corruption, or to attribute it to individuals who, in most cases, have nothing to do with it.
Haji says the anti-graft war is unstoppable and has taken note of the recent allegations on grant graft. The Deputy President has been uneasy with the enhanced war on graft, claiming that he seems to be the only one under scrutiny.
But it looked like it stopped at me only. I thought the lifestyle audit was meant for everybody.
The DPP was speaking at the coast, where he challenged the public to hold to account those accused of corruption and decline cash donations from questionable characters.
We must go back to our values, to our religion. What does it say?
In the meantime, The National Council of Churches is proposing an amendment to the Constitution to replace the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission with the Serious Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The function and powers of the commission shall include, but not limited to, integrating anti-corruption activities in all sectors, investigating improper acts with respect to public money, and improper or unlawful enrichment of a person performing a public function, nationalizing or appropriating any property, funds or proceeds, whether in Kenya or abroad, that have been looted and or obtained through fraud or corrupt means, even while charges are pending in court, summoning any person or entity to enhance investigations, promoting good governance, integrity and transparency, monitoring, investigate and report on corruption, receive and investigate complaints touching on their functions, and documenting and share data with the public, other state organs and institutions in respect to any investigations, monitoring or research carried out in furtherance of their functions.
We remind you of the account of
NCCK will present the proposals to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga says corruption and rampant theft of public resources are vices that are derailing Kenya and Africa.
He further said that this is preventing the continent from realizing the maximum potential despite being the richest in mineral resources.
You are most welcome.
ODM party leader Raila Odinga says those engaged in corruption are criminals who should be dealt with decisively.
Mega scandals after the other. Money being paid for projects that are not implemented. Money transferred from our bank accounts in Kenya, and this money is going into account of certain people. These are criminals where we must take radical actions to deal with this cancer of corruption in our country. Otherwise, we will not have a country tomorrow.
Odinga, who is also the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructural Development, maintains that corruption is among the obstacles derailing the continent of Africa from achieving its greatest potential.
We still, many African countries are playing in super league of corruption. And this is where we must move Africa. But this will only happen if we stand up as one people and fight against the vices which are making it difficult for Africa to realize its great potential. Paradox is the richest continent is also the poorest in terms of living conditions of our people.
You must be a leader of credence. You must not be associated with anybody who is corrupt.
The need to stop blaming Africa's colonial past for her underdevelopment and instead focus on deliberately making things work in Africa was emphasized.
Once again,
the leaders were speaking at the Pan-African Trade Union Symposium on the importance of quality education for all for Africa's development. The 3-day symposium takes place in Nairobi and has participants from the trade union sector from 18 countries in Africa. Vincent Odur, NTV.
The questions that surround the government's 66 billion shilling dam projects for Aurora and Kimwarer dams in ElgeyoMarakwet County continue to spring up afresh despite ongoing silence by officials. Plans to construct Aurora Dam for 38 billion shillings and Kimwarer Dam for 28 billion shillings remain just that. Plans. NTV's Lois Wangwe examines the sums involved vis-a-vis the county's annual budget to put in context the problem of grant corruption.
This is Kimwarer Shopping Center. It would have been part of the Kimwarer Dam, which was to be constructed at 28 billion shillings. Residents here are angered by revelations of graft on plans to construct the dam.
21 billion to ElgeyoMarakwet would have done wonders here. Knowing very well we received 3.7 billion from the treasury, and that money is doing very little to us. So sometimes we see great works around, but the 21 billion could have done wonders here.
This is the area that Kimwarer Dam would have been constructed. There is not a single sign of ongoing works.
We are in support of all the government agencies as far as this investigation is concerned. this project has to be stopped forthwith, and thorough investigation and auditing be done in this Kemware Dam.
The billions would have seen a huge facelift for the community of ElgeyoMarakwet, where 57% of residents live below the poverty line compared to the national poverty level of 46%. ElgeyoMarakwet County received 3.9 billion shillings this financial year. In perspective, the 28 billion shillings set aside for Kemware Dam would have funded the county budget for 7 years. The 38 billion set aside for Aror Dam would have run ElgeyoMarakwet County for 9 years as per the current budget.
Because as at the moment you see our people going to public participation meetings, they go and divide 40 million per ward. So again, as a county we've been struggling with the limited resources. But now if all those money have gone to waste, I don't know even where we are going to start. And even I think it's an issue that we need the national government to look into it.
ElgeyoMarakwet County Governor Alex Tolgos says the scandal is a slap on the face for this county that allocates about 1 billion shillings per year for development purposes.
And if the lost 21 billion shillings was equitably shared amongst the residents of ElgeyoMarakwet County, who stand at about 3.7 million persons, according to the census of the year 2009, then each resident of ElgeyoMarakwet County would have pocketed about 56,000 Kenyan shillings. Lois Wangoi, NTV, Eldoret.
Just when you think you've heard enough about the scandals, another damn scandal turns up. To something that's heading to the court, Supreme Court Judge Mohammed Ibrahim has sued Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi for defamation. The suit arises from claims made by lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi alleging impropriety on the part of judges when they delivered a judgment in a petition filed by Wajir Governor Mohammed Abdi Mohammed. Through his lawyers, SM Kilonzo and Associates, Justice Ibrahim has also accused Abdullahi of sending a controversial text via WhatsApp, seeming to solicit the judge to make a decision that would be favorable to his client.
In his official communication to the Senior Counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, Supreme Court Judge Justice Mohammed Ibrahim quotes text from a message he claims was received the day before the Wajir gubernatorial petition ruling was to be read. According to Justice Ibrahim, in a text sent on the 14th of February, Nasir is quoted pleading with the judge to maintain his reputation of being the only judge of the apex court who hasn't been mentioned in rumor circles for receiving money in sacks. The text from lawyer Ahmed Nasir urges the judge to retrace his steps considering recent allegations of lawyers accusing the judge of not being firm and strong. He asks the judge not to follow the majority blindly when, quote, we know the majority in that court is brought together by money, end of quote. When reached for comment by NTV, the senior counsel was unresponsive, choosing not to deny or confirm the claims. In his tweets, he stated he would write a confidential letter to the President of the Supreme Court, detailing what he alleged was proof of a compromised bench. But sources within the judiciary say that letter is yet to reach the Chief Justice's desk. Justice Ibrahim has given the lawyer 7 days from the date of receipt of the complaint letter to apologize and retract his tweets in which he mentions the judge, and I quote, we know from reliable source in the Supreme Court that the 6 judges tied at 3-3 until yesterday afternoon when Justice Ibrahim changed his mind to make it 4-2. What happened? Who lobbied Ibrahim? Why did he change at the 11th hour? Ibrahim must tell Kenyans what we know at DK Maraga. The judge warns of proceeding with legal action for the libelous publications, including a claim of punitive, exemplary and general damages at the lawyer's risk as to costs and other expenses arising therefrom. According to the Supreme Court judge, the words said in the senior counsel's tweets in their entirety meant were understood to mean and are intended to mean inter alia that the judge is corrupt, dishonest and worthy of his status in the society as a judge, is professionally and morally morally unfit for office of a judge or judicial officer or any public office, is guilty of gross misconduct or misbehavior, is a person who auctions justice to the highest bidder, is indecisive in discharge of his duties, received a bribe to influence outcome of the subject election petition, and is a judge who decides disputes based on what he stands to benefit from the litigants. With the tweets having been published to Nasir's 639,000 followers on Twitter, Justice Ibrahim states that the lawyer should make amends and reparations or pay damages and immediately publish an apology, which shall be published both on Twitter and 2 major Kenyan newspapers. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
4 suspects have been charged with murdering human rights activist Carol Mwatha Ochieng. Betty Akinyi, Nyanya, Michael Onyonka, Richard Ramoya and Alexander Gitao Gikonya did not take plea as they did not have legal representation.
Justice Stella Mutoko directed that the case be mentioned on the 4th of March for the accused to take plea. The suspects will also undergo mental tests to determine if they are fit to stand trial. Carolyn Mwatha was reported missing on the 6th of February, but her body was later found at the city mortuary.
That story brings us to our fast break. We'll see you on the other side.
Here, chance doesn't come knocking for you. You go knocking for it. We rise first, act fast, we speak last. Because chances don't last long round here. We are artists of opportunity, 1.3 billion entrepreneurs. African is our edge on the world. Every day is our cup.
Thank you for staying with NTV tonight. Now, the vote on the 2/3 agenda bill flopped today for a record 4th time following a quorum hitch. At the beginning of the afternoon session, there were 164 members present, but a few minutes into the session, that number increased to 174. The bill requires that at least 233 out of the 349 MPs in the National Assembly are present for it to sail through. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's wife, Ida, who was in Parliament in solidarity with women MPs, said the country may not realize its full potential if women are still marginalized. In October last year, Majority Party leader Aden Duale requested the Speaker to defer voting on the bill to this year after only 208 MPs showed up in Parliament.
I cannot put the question because whether we put question, however loudly anybody shouts, it will be an exercise in futility. So the net effect of this, honourable members, is that the motion is lost.
From that bill that is flopped in Parliament, let's take you to neighboring Tanzania, where Pombe Magufuli's administration seems to have a problem with a sister publication of the Daily Nation, that is under the Nation Media Group, and it has suspended The Citizen for a week for a story. This is the title of that story: Closely Monitor Falling of Shilling Experts Caution. Now, basically, this story by The Citizen on February the 23rd talked about the falling value of the Tanzanian shilling, which declined compared to 3 years ago. But this, according to Patrick Kipangula, the Registrar of Newspapers, he said that the reportage was not following the procedure and financial standards set by the Bank of Tanzania. Now, this, of course, did not go down well with the administration, and unfortunately, our sister publication, The Citizen, is going to be off the press for about a week, and this is definitely something that we hope will not be happening again there, and definitely hope won't be happening here. Speaking of which, something to look forward to on the Daily Nation tomorrow. The mammoth Mwalimu National Savings and Credit Society decided to acquire the then struggling Equatorial Bank from businessman Nashad Merali in 2015, a story that we aired not too long ago here on NTV Tonight. Well, there's more details. For the 2.4 billion shilling, the Teachers Sacco acquired 74% of Equatorial Bank, which it renamed Spire Bank. But today, after a string of losses, the bank is valued at 400 million shillings, meaning Kenya's hardworking teachers could have lost 2 billion shillings of their savings in 3 years. The management says all is well and that the bank is no longer in the red, but how true is that claim? For more of this shocking story of investment blunders and how a housing project in Kajiado County made a bad situation worse, do not miss your copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow. But up next, another sad story coming out of Isiolo with Olive Burrows.
Well, mystery surrounds the murder of a girl estimated to be about 13 years of age in Isiolo's 10th Street. Asmahan Abdisalan was brutally murdered at her aunt's house in Isiolo, with police arresting 4 suspects, including her aunt. NTV's Helen Aura brings us that story.
This flat in Isiolo 10th Street is where 14-year-old Asmahan Abdisalan was found dead and her body decomposing. She was living with her guardian, her aunt and 3 other women in this one-bedroom house.
Nilipokea ripoti kwamba mtoto amekufa na alikuwa ameachwa kwa jirani kwa sababu mama alikuwa amesema amesafiri, na ni culture yetu kuacha mtoto na mtu unaamini.
According to the neighbors who refused to speak on camera, interaction with Asmahan's aunt was minimal. She used to lock herself in the house during the day. They would hear commotion in her house at night. When it appeared, it was operational. They claimed that the aunt would burn incense at night to get rid of the shisha smoke that her guests used to come and smoke. A neighbor informed NTV that the girl used to be locked in the house and that she stopped attending school for months and was allegedly being used as a sex toy by the men who used to visit her aunt.
Paka saa hatujui kwa nini huyu mwanamke aliua huyu mtoto, na pia alikuwa na watu wengine.
The neighbors informed NTV that the teenager's death raised eyebrows when her aunt and the 3 other women took her body to South Sea to be washed before attempting to bury her without a burial permit and the involvement of the police.
Huyo whistleblower hakafuata mpaka kule alipoenda akapata yule attendant wa pale
wakitaka kuanza kuosha mwili, akawaambia wasiguse. Wakasema hawa mama watatu wamemkataza mtu yeyote asinjaribu kukaribia hiyo maiti. Akasema lazima hata ataangalia maiti. Akaenda akafunua ile maiti na akapata maiti vile ilikuwa na manjera mengi.
A neighbor quickly intervened. It took the efforts of the police to stop the unauthorized burial. A report was filed in Langate Station and later Pangani Police Station. A post-mortem examination was conducted on the girl's body on Monday at City Mortuary, but the report is yet to be released.
I will urge the police, the DCI, to fully investigate this case, to bring all the culprits into the books.
The police are investigating the case as the girl's aunt was arrested and will be arraigned on the 11th of March. 3 more suspects have been arrested and will be arraigned Thursday morning.
A place where Asmahan thought she could find refuge panned out to be her deathbed. Despite having been buried, a cry for justice still lingers. Helen Aura, NTV.
One of the stories we'll be bringing you this evening is the story of a man who strangled his fiancée in their Kapsoya home before proceeding to chop up her body, stuff it in a dustbin and attempt to burn it. And it's quite disturbing and unfortunately indicative of an increasing trend. Now on February the 19th, clerics in Nyandara decried the rising cases of domestic violence in the county. And this is after a retired school teacher, Samuel Kamaika, set his house on fire, killing his wife, Veronica Wanjiru. In another incident, a pregnant mother of 3 was admitted in a coma after suffering abdominal injuries caused by her husband. The Nyandara clerics also lamented the scalding of a wife by her husband in Uhuru village and the killing of a father by his son who slit his throat. There is, of course, the story of Beryl Ouma, whose neighbors were accused of failing to come to her aid when her husband allegedly assaulted her with a belt. But the violence isn't limited to spouses. There are numerous cases of parents visiting violence on their children reported every single day. And one can only wonder about those that go unreported. On Valentine's Day, there was a newspaper report of a mother pleading guilty to poisoning her 6-year-old daughter out of anger and frustration. On the 23rd, another report of a mother burning a stepdaughter's private parts with a hot knife in order to reprimand her. And that's not saying anything of the sexual violence visited upon children. On the 20th of this month, a man in Narok was charged with defiling and impregnating his 14-year-old daughter and could also be facing the same charges for defiling his 11-year-old daughter. On the 20th of February, there was a report of a 16-year-old schoolgirl arrested after stabbing her 21-year-old boyfriend. I put that in quotes because at 21 years old and her at 16 years old, there is that idea that he could have taken advantage of her. And he was a casual laborer working on her uncle's farm, and she stabbed him to death at just 16 years of age. And unfortunately, that is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's take time now to just take all that in and take a break.
time for your daily look at the world of business. Welcome, I am Julian Amboko. SACCO officials accused of embezzling member savings will now be investigated and prosecuted by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. The move is set to curb errant officials who have in the past made away with fraud. Lillian Carey with the details on the Memorandum of Understanding set to be signed between the EACC and the State Department of Cooperatives next week.
With cooperative societies being classified as private entities, enforcing of compliance in governance and procurement has posed a challenge. But now, Cooperatives Principal Secretary Susan Mochache has said that the government will be handing over corruption cases within the cooperative movement to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for further action. Top of the list is the Keza SACCO, whose chairman David Ngari is accused of misappropriating over 1 billion shillings of members' funds.
Since then, because this is clearly a criminal activity, we have now moved the issue to the DCI. We have requested the DCI to step in and conduct the investigations. And as we do that, of course, we are also working with the Assets Recovery Agency, who we have also called upon to help us to recover the assets. We will be involved in the sale, and we have moved to court to put an injunction that Ekeza cannot sell those assets on their own volition.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission CEO, Twalib Mbarak, said the commission has received 400 complaints from the cooperative sector, 16 of which fall within the commission's mandate.
We need to administer our SACCOs in a very open society, because the issue of lifestyle audit is coming in. We are really pushing for that. People should account on how they get their wealth.
According to the SACCO Society's Regulatory Authority, as of December 2017, over 4 million Kenyans held active accounts in SACCOs and mobilized deposits of over 300 billion shillings. The partnership with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is quite timely, as most SACCO officials who have been found to be culpable of misappropriating SACCO's funds have only been asked to step down, and when the case proceeds to court, it has been dismissed. Lillian Carey, NTV Business.
It looks like the matter of SACCOs won't just go away. Moving elsewhere, the Treasury has released 4 billion shillings to pay maize farmers who delivered grain to the National Cereals and Produce Board. The Strategic Grain Food Reserve says NCPB will start processing payments this week, and the Treasury will release the remaining 980 million shillings next week. Farmers in the North Rift and Trans-Nzoia regions have been protesting delay in the buying process, which NCPB has attributed to the lack of gunny bags. The Ministry of Agriculture has already written to the Treasury for 400 million shillings to buy the bags and continue purchasing grains from farmers. And on to the capital markets. The East African Portland Cement Company has reported a 1.2 billion shilling loss for the half year ended December 31st, 2018, deepening the loss position by 24% compared to the same period in 2017. Victor Kiprop has the details of the cement makers' widening loss and outlook as fortunes keep falling for the country's cement makers.
The 30% increase in the company's half-year loss attributed to a difficult business environment, a sluggish market and production challenges is expected to further strain the operations of the already financially distressed company. As at November last year, the company was already operating at below 50% of its capacity, with a 15 billion shillings hole in its books, and was banking on a bailout from government. Meanwhile, things are not all rosy for some of the country's other cement makers. Bamburi Cement, Kenya's largest cement maker with about 32% market share, issued a profit warning in December last year, cautioning investors that their 2018 full-year earnings would decrease by more than 25%. The company, which has been undertaking massive expansions in Kenya and Uganda, has in the last 2 years seen substantial drop in its earnings from as much as 5.9 billion shillings in 2016 to 2 billion shillings in the following year. RM Cement, once a top performer, is also now trapped in debt and is shopping for a new investor to rescue it, having already been put under receivership and its shares suspended from trading at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The tribulation of the local manufacturers and the turbulence in the country's cement industry, however, seems to be inviting competition from deep-pocketed investors. Africa's largest cement maker, Dangote Cement and Omani-based Raisut Cement, are among the manufacturing giants said to be eyeing Kenya's cement industry. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
Now, shared value, which is a management strategy where companies find business opportunities in social problems, is a concept which is less than a decade old and one which companies have been starting to embrace. Alex Mwangi attended a shared value forum organized by the Nairobi Securities Exchange and brings you the salient features of the concept and how companies are seeking to benefit from it.
Companies that have adopted the shared value concept, which involves building their business models around social good, stand a better chance of having more highly motivated workers, hence increasing output.
If you look at the companies that have been tremendously successful and you ask what set them apart from those that were not, this concept of shared value, even if it wasn't called that, is a major differentiator.
In Africa, it's the corporates that have been quickest to adopt shared value, perhaps because they also have the resources to do so.
It really is a leadership-led kind of agenda. It has to start at the top. It's not short-term. It's a long-term agenda.
The shared value process it's indeed a process. I don't think a company can actually say they have achieved, delivering fully on shared value. So the shared value concept actually by definition calls for business partnership across a continuum of players, public sector, private sector, civil society and SMEs. So by its very nature, it's very partnership driven. The nascent concept of shared value is gradually being applied by various companies globally. I sought to find out whether the accounting profession has put in place a specific method through which it is able to measure the application of shared value in a company.
Not yet, and that's part of the transformation that needs to happen long term, right? Today, the only empirical thing that people count is profit, which is just money. It's not what's your shared value impact that you're having, and we must be able to build to a common standard.
People did not think it was profitable.
The forum to explore the concept comes ahead of the Africa Shared Value Summit 2019, which will take place in Nairobi on the 23rd and 24th of May. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And on that note of shared value, thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Thank you for staying with NTV tonight. At least 80,000 hectares of moorland vegetation in the Mount Kenya National Park has been destroyed by the ongoing wildfire that started on Saturday.
The Kenya Forest Service says this brings to 114 the number of fire incidents reported since January and that have consumed more than 90,000 hectares of forests.
NTV's Melita Oletenges reports on the loss and the challenges of putting out the fire that is spreading fast.
A thick cloud of smoke covers the dense and disoriented jungle, smoke that emanates from the wildfires that have engulfed the Mount Kenya Forest Reserve. The inferno that reportedly started near Lake Ellis in Tharaka Nithi County has spread to parts of the forest in Embu, Laikipia and Kirinyaga counties, bringing the total of fire incidences reported in the country since January this year to 114.
The Mount Kenya fire that we have come today to assess has been the most difficult so far, insofar as containing it is concerned. We've been able to fly over the areas that have been burnt and the areas that are burning currently. And we've seen the teams that are fighting this fire who are putting a lot of efforts to try and make sure that this fire does not spread.
Efforts to put out the fire have, however, been dragged by strong winds blowing in the mountain that have fanned the flames and fastened their spread. The thick canopy has also made it difficult for the firefighters to access the epicenter.
We have seen here in Tharaka Nithi County, the fire is still raging. We still need support of each and every one of us.
Reports from the Met Department indicate that rain could fall in the region in the next 3 weeks, but this has sparked concerns that more fire incidences could be witnessed in the coming days. Locals have been asked to volunteer to fight the fire and to avoid activities that could start fires in other parts of the forest. Melita Oletenges, NTV, Tharaka Nithi County.
From Tharaka Nithi, let's go continental for a bit. A section of Nigerians celebrated after President Muhammadu Buhari won a second term in office in an election marked by delays and violence.
Elsewhere in Egypt, at least 20 people were killed in a train crash in the capital, Cairo. Details in our international news roundup.
President Muhammadu Buhari took 56% of the votes against his main rival businessman and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party. But hours after he was declared the winner, Abubakar rejected the result and vowed to challenge it in court. US President Donald Trump touted North Korea's awesome future if his friend Kim Jong, whom he meets for a high-stakes dinner later Wednesday, agrees to give up his nuclear arsenal. Trump's enthusiastic tweet came hours before a second summit in the Vietnamese capital Hanoi to build on the pair's historic first meeting in Singapore in June. The White House said Trump and Kim will hold a 10-minute meeting before going off for an approximately 20-minute session without aides, followed by dinner expected to last around 90 minutes.
Now let's get the latest from sports and that whole world there with Warobe Kiru after the break.
With Nivea Dry Fresh deodorants.
A very good evening to you. It is time to play on NTV tonight. I am Warothe Kiru. Kenyan Premier League defending champions Gor Mahia have climbed to second on the log following a 1-0 win over Tusker in a match played at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Red Hot striker Nicholas Kipkirui scored the solitary goal. Kogalo now has 29 points from 14 matches, same as third place Mathare United, who have an inferior goal difference despite playing a game more. Coastal side Bandari tops the table with 31 points after 14 matches. Goalkeeper Boniface Oluoch saw red, while Dennis Oliech was brought on as a substitute late on.
You know, we dominate the game, we control the game, 10 men. We miss Samuel, he missed 4, Jackie missed 2, Kipkirui missed 1, Charles missed 1. It should be, I think, 4-5.
Because daylight robbery. That's not a goal. You saw it even yourself. That's not a goal.
And very expressive coaches right there. Lion, Robert Matano and Hassan Oktay. And the national sevens rugby team will have to make do without emerging star Johnston Olindi in the Las Vegas leg of the World 7 Series. His absence will be a cause for concern for coach Paul Pau Murunga, as the team is made up predominantly of rookies, and Olindi has shown through, leading the stats in all key areas in the first 4 legs. In the Las Vegas tournament, Kenya takes on hosts USA at 3:50 a.m. Saturday morning, then plays France at 6:29 a.m. and concludes its group matches against Argentina at 11:58 p.m. Heading into Vegas, Kenya lies 13th in the standings with 12 points from 4 legs, just 1 point above Japan, who occupy the relegation slot. Veteran golfer Dismas Indiza took advantage of a meltdown by overnight leader Greg Snow to win the final Safari Tour leg at the current country club. Meanwhile, former two-wheel drive national champion Leo Varese has secured sponsorship from gaming company SportPesa, and the Nation FC will be among the teams competing in the 2019 Standard Chartered Road to Anfield football tournament that happens at the St. Mary's grounds this Saturday.
After a string of second-place finishes, it was finally time for Mumias-based Dismas Indiza to celebrate at the end of the Karen Country Club leg of the Safari Tour Golf Series. Indiza topped the field after returning a score of 3 over par 74 in the final round for a total of 3 over par 287. Uganda's Philip Kasozi, Great Rift Valley's Justice Madoya and Royal Golf Club's Eric Oko claimed the 3 remaining slots to the 2019 Magical Kenya Open, which tees off at the Karen Country Club from the 14th of next month.
Leo sawa nilikuwa nataka tumia ile ujanja wangu yani ile nimecheza golf kwa muda mrefu.
The Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife treated the professional golfers and elite amateur golfers who fly the country's flag at the Magical Kenya Open to a game drive in keeping with the theme of using golf to grow tourism numbers in the country. This year's edition of the Kenya Open will be a European Tour event and will feature star golfers like immediate former Ryder Cup captain and 15-time European Tour champion Thomas Bjorn.
To make sure that we also profile the destination. The government has invested heavily in this, and we have decided the destination is more important.
Former two-wheel drive champion Leo Varese will compete in the remaining 7 legs of the Kenya National Rally Championship after receiving sponsorship from gaming company SportPesa. Navigated by Kigo Karethi, Varese has acquired a Toyota Auris for the championship, where he'll attempt to regain the two-wheel drive national title they last won in 2017.
We have invested in football. We are investing now in the rally globally through our global headquarters. We're also involved in a speed-related sports, which is Formula 1. And this is bringing that same type of sports to Africa, to Kenya.
Nation FC are among 51 teams, which will feature in this year's Standard Chartered Road to Anfield football tournament on Saturday at St. Mary's School in Nairobi. Nation FC, who were last year eliminated at the quarter-final stage, are in Group A together with Deloitte, Vivo Energy, BAT, Sanlam, Total and Davis Shirtliff.
The winning team will travel to the UK. They will watch the final game between Liverpool and Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Wananchi beat Leshego 3-0 to lift last year's edition, but were knocked out in the quarterfinals of the global finals after losing 2-1 to Hong Kong at Anfield.
Niaje, want to invest in a biashara that will take your hustle to the next level?
For watching, and thank you to David Agondoa for the sign language interpretation. My name is Masai.
My name is Burrows. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.